Hey Baba. This is Jim Meyer's song. Oh, Mary, do not weep. Oh, Mary, do not mourn. Your son Jesus can never die. He lives in all hearts reborn. O Dugduva, do not mourn. O Dugduva, do not cry. Your son Zoroaster is the fire of love, and he can never die. O Kaushalya, do not weep. O Kaushalya, do not grieve. Your son Rama is alive and well, living in the hearts of all who believe. O Mahamaya, shed no tears. O Mahamaya, do not cry. Your son Buddha has transcended death. He can never die. O Devaki, do not fear. O Devaki, do not weep. Your son Krishna is eternally alive, risen from illusion's dream of sleep. O Amina, don't be sad. O Amina, do not cry. Your son Muhammad has merged in Allah. He can never die. O Shirin, do not cry. O Shirin, do not mourn. Your son Meher can never die. He lives in the hearts of his own. He lives in the hearts of his own. Jai Baba.
So beautiful.
Thanks, Silaja.
Jai Baba.
Beautiful. I don't think I've not heard that song, actually.
All the mothers of the avatars. Isn't that a clever
Yeah.
scheme?
Jim Myers sings that song all the time.
Yeah, he's
Well,
the
Jim
one
Meyer
who
wrote
wrote
it.
that.
Well, how come Jeff hasn't heard it?
Because
I
it's
don't know.
newer.
It's
doesn't know
newer.
every song in the world.
Hey, so so I thought maybe I would share this something that I used to share in Mandalay Hall, and but it's about Baba's Baba's work with the women, and this is how it kind of unfolded. In the middle of the 70s, when I started working at the center, one of the things that was first asked is, what was Baba doing with the women? What kind of, the women were very secluded. They didn't have much, no contact with the world. They were, when the women and the Westerners and Eastern women were up on the hill, they were behind this stone wall, and they never had any contact with men or what was going on in the world. They had a very circumscribed life, and I would be asked, is this like a reenactment of the Muslim Purdah, where women are really kept out of sight? And this wasn't just Baba women asking. This were other people that women came when they'd heard this type of thing. And I didn't.
No.
Jeff, you are muted.
Jeff, you're muted.
This whole time?
No.
No, just now.
Just a little bit. The last.
Okay. What was the last thing I said?
About Parda.
Huh?
Other women asking about this Parda.
Okay. Yeah, so the the women would say, well, is this just a reenactment of the Muslim purdah? And I didn't have any good answer for that, but I didn't feel comfortable in not answering it. I mean, I felt like, I didn't feel comfortable like of saying, well, it's just a mystery or this Baba's way. So I put before Baba, in my consciousness, Baba, I need an answer to this, because it's an understandable question. And so I put it before Baba actively for years. And then years rolled by, and on one of my trips to India, Erich took us up to the ashram of Upasni Maharaj, that's Sikori. And this ashram was very peaceful and calm and quiet. And there were all these women that were called kanyas who lived a very strict and secluded life in the time of Upasni Maharaj, and then later he appointed Godavari Maya as his successor. So we were up there, and they gave us lunch on these banana plates, or banana leaves and everything. But while I was there, I got a book of Upasni Maharaj's discourses. And in the discourses, there was one of the discourses was on the complementary relationship between husband and wife in Hindu society. And this is around the early 1900s. And so this is what Upasni Maharaj said. Is there are three types of impressions in Hinduism, and one of them is the sattvic impressions, the rajasic impressions, and tamasic impressions. So Upasni Maharaj said the sattvic impressions are embodied by the wife. Now they are the pure, innocent, lighter, refined impressions. They are the impressions that are appropriate for children growing up, and she maintains the atmosphere of these sattvic impressions. Now the husband goes off to work, and there he picks up rajasic impressions, which are the impressions of action, and they are heavier. And then the worst impressions are the tamasic impressions, which are lust, greed, and anger. They're the really heavy ones. So anyway, the complementary relationship of husband and wife is that the husband goes out and works. This is we're talking about society around the early 1900s, and he brings his heavy impressions back to home, and his impressions are dissolved in the sattvic impressions that are maintained and cultured by the wife. And so this is the complementary relationship of husband and wife in Hindu society at that time. Then Upasni Maharaj said, is these women in my ashram, he had something like 72 women who were basically like nuns. These women perform the same function for the world. The heavy impressions of the world are drawn here, and they transmute those, and they spiritualize those impressions. And the sense of it was that they weren't aware of this larger purpose that they were involved in. They were focused on devoting themselves to him and carrying out whatever he wanted. But this was the larger purpose that was going on. So I thought, so I came back to Myrtle Beach, and if I was asked, about what the women were doing, what Baba was doing with the women, I would give this as a plausible explanation. And, I don't know. I mean, I just thought that kind of is a plausible explanation for this. Then, several years later, I heard this story, and this is the gist of it. There was a woman in Colorado who had a past life recollection in which she saw herself in the concentration camps in the gas chambers as they were all being gassed. She saw it. She saw, that people were on their knees praying, gathered together as families, whatever they could, as they were being gassed. And after they were all killed, they were lifted up and carried off to this place. And this place they could see down below. It was a beautiful heavenly place. It was a hillside with a few buildings, and from one of those buildings there was a chant coming up, a very healing heavenly chant that was coming. And then from there on they went on to their next phase of the afterlife. And so then a year later she heard about Baba, and she became a Baba lover, and she came to India, and she checked in at the Pilgrim Center, and she started up the hill. As she started up the hill, she recognized, this is the hill. This is the hill, and these are the buildings we saw after we died in the concentration camps. She recognized it. And as she went up the hill and got to the top and headed toward the tomb, the very chant was being sung that they had heard in the afterlife, which was the 7 names of God. The women mandali used to come from Marazad to Mehrabad every 2 weeks and pay their respects to Baba. And so they were singing the song that they actually said. Baba had them singing this chant in, if you read in Lord Mayhare, in the morning for a half hour or 45 minutes, and in the evening they sang the 7 names of God. Baba had them doing that. So you can imagine what she experienced, And so with this, I felt, wow, this kind of really corroborates, this this whole thing of what Baba was doing with the women. And then a couple of years later, there was a woman in the refectory that told me that Mera had said that all the people from the Holocaust came through the Baba had told Mera that all the women, all the people in the Holocaust came through the upper room. Now she assumed that that's the upper room at Marazad where Baba stayed. But Baba didn't stay at Marazad until 1944. And really what I think is the upper room of the converted water tank, where the Western and Indian women lived, and where they said the 7 names of God. So anyway, this somehow got in a newsletter and got to India before I went on my trip, and I was kind of like that. Some of the women mandali were still alive, and this was just all kind of speculation or what I had gotten. But when I got there, there's a woman, Terry Bartons, told me that Merwan Jessa Wallace said, did you read that piece in the Washington newsletter that Jeff Wolverton wrote? And she said, oh, no, I was there when he shared that, because I shared that when I was up there, and then wrote it up. And she said, yeah, and he said, Baba's now letting out the secrets. That's what he said. So I felt a lot better. I mean, I felt like, because I was a little bit worried about what coming up with this stuff. But he felt that this was really what Baba was doing. Even though the women were not aware of the higher workings of this, they were actually helping the world, especially in World War II, as victims of the Holocaust and probably other wars were coming through while the women were there, focused deeply on Baba and saying the chant and everything. So that's, and that song that I just sang, the 7 names of God, was the chant that they So, hey, I see Anita is here from Nanaimo.
Hi. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too.
You might have missed that story, but
Yeah, I
Mahu,
caught half of it.
what do you think? So,
Yes. Very, very nice, very good story. And actually, I heard about it before. I don't remember who told me or where did I hear it, but yeah, women Mandali were there every morning at 5:30, singing the 7 names of God. And I heard something similar that Mera also was there to save some souls. Mera was when they were in, they were living in Upper Merabad for a while. So Mera specific, yeah, this is a task Baba gave to her. Mostly she was saving women. Yeah. But I'm not sure if this was people from the World War or the Holocaust. I'm not sure where were they coming from, but I know Mera was very involved.
yeah. Yeah. No.
Hey, Jeff,
Yeah.
do you have that story printed somewhere that you can share, perhaps?
Yeah, maybe I can I've got it written down somewhere.
Oh,
I maybe I'll send it to you,
yeah.
and then if anybody is interested in it.
Yeah, because it's very interesting. I mean, I never heard, so I thought I'll share it with
Yeah.
people who might be very interested in knowing that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay Bob.
So I've got your email and I'll send it, and then you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
But we got Rainey Eastman here, you know. I wonder if we could get a song from her.
Hey, Jeff, before you go on,
That would be nice.
what did you mean by coming through? The women were coming through.
No, I was saying the people in the Holocaust who died in the gas chambers came through the upper room, meaning they they must have passed through the upper room of the converted water tower in the atmosphere that the women had created by their just by their very circumscribed focus on Baba.
But I don't understand what you mean by come through. That doesn't make any sense to me. Come through where to where?
Well, just like I described, they came out of the gas chambers. They came over They came over Upper Meribad, and down below the hillside with all the little buildings. This is what she recognized years later when a year later when she went to Meribad. So they passed over Meribad after they died in the concentration camp.
So this was a woman who remembered a past life, and she remembered this happening, and it was her soul that came over Upper Meribad. Is that the idea?
Yeah. Yeah. Did I say it was a past life recollection that she experienced? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Has this to do with also spiritual stagnation thing that somebody talked about earlier? I mean, the suffering that happened in Holocaust was something that is spiritually necessary to remove the so-called stagnation they would have had otherwise. Is that something that rings bell in your mind?
I hadn't heard that. But here's one thing that was quite amazing to us is that Erich from time to time would say that he felt that 70% of Baba's Western Baba lovers came through the concentration camps.
Oh.
That was, and he normally didn't say such things, but I heard him on a number of occasions. So, I mean, that, it's said, Baba has said that God realization is the simultaneous experience of the extreme opposites. So if whoever went through the concentration camp got, I would say, one of the extreme opposites, the very worst. But there's a line from Sri Aurobindo, who was one of the great saints of India. You have to look at the hideous face of God and not turn away. Because you have to get the whole. You can't just get the good side. We have to get the whole. Doesn't mean you live the atrocity, but you have to experience it. I mean, so I don't know. These are just my speculations.
Jeff, just quickly, but I don't have it ready. Last time, I think for the first time, I participated in Mera Meher group reading, and exactly that was the timing that Tina Holmes actually is coordinating it, about the timing about the concentration camp and the role of Hitler and how Baba was viewing it. Very, very interesting. Perhaps I'll find it because she sent me the PDF. So I'll find it and maybe we can read it next time.
Yeah.
I thought, how Baba is looking at it. It's good to know how Baba was looking at it, because obviously his hands was in it, and who knows what purpose this served actually. Yeah.
I think he made the best of a bad thing.
Yeah.
Hey, Rainey, can we get a song out of you, or are we being presumptuous here? One of the great singers in the Baba world, we're lucky.
Would you like something funny or fun or blues, or what would you like?
Something that has a longing in it.
Longing. Oh, well, that is in the voice anyway. So, okay, you asked for it. We'll go from Judaism to Christianity. In the Old Testament, there is, I'm sorry about the noise in the background, they're having dessert and they're going nuts back there. There's a passage in the Old Testament. I wasn't raised a Christian, so I don't know a lot of these things, but it's about honey in the rock. And honey in the rock in my interfaith gospel choir is a lot of different spirituals and a lot of things. And then there's a famous group called Honey in the Rock, of course. Famous, super famous group. But anyway, I was in India and Meru Bilamoria's grandson was there. And he sang this song that he had learned in a St. Francis school in Mumbai. And he taught it to me. He taught me a St. Francis song, and he taught me this song. Oh, I don't know if this guitar is going to measure up. 1 second while I get a different, it's not in tune.
Aha. So, Mayor Prasad, you got anything on the table there?
I remember the story which said about that, the thing that you were saying about the hideous face of God. But it might take 5 minutes, so maybe after Rainey sings.
Okay. She's got another guitar there already, yeah.
Bob's guitar, the Garcia. If I can't play on Bob's guitar, I can't have a hope, right? Ooh, there we go. We've had freezing weather and we've had boiling weather. And guitars don't like weather change. as Jim is always complaining to us. It's never Jim's fault. It's always the weather.
Yeah, Mark Twain said the coldest winter he ever experienced was a summer in San Francisco.
Yes, it's very like Melbourne. No, Prashad.
Yeah.
He is my everything. How does that sound? Too wavy?
It sounds all right.
He is my everything. He is my all. He is my everything. Both great and small, so small. Gave his life for me. He made everything new. He is my everything. Now how about you? Like honey in the rock, sweet honey in the rock. For he tastes like honey in the rock. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. For he tastes like honey in the rock. He is my everything. Oh, he is my all. He is my everything. He's both great and small, so small. He gave his life for me and made everything new. He is my everything. Now, how about you?
Beautiful. Can you do Far Behind Is Yesterday?
Sure.
This is a beautiful, beautiful song.
This was written by
Sam Saunders, I think, right?
Sam Saunders when Franny was born. Well, Franny Etta's song, in actual fact. There's several Franny Etta songs, but 3, but this is one that he wrote. Because I said I don't sing anymore. So much for that.
We're not hearing your guitar so much.
Yeah, this is an old computer that I've... Okay.
Anyway. It's a beautiful song written by Sam Saunders.
I don't know why I need it. With light from his true love, I wind my way. On a road no distance knows, only today. Far behind is yesterday, from the stars and their dream, till the wind brought to my lips the clear song of the name of Mayhem. Farewell, old ancient world, I feel so young. No more your iron chains, on his swift glance my heart is hung. Far behind is yesterday, from the stars and their dreams, till the wind brought to my lips the clear song of the name of Mayhem. I go to his lovely hopelessness alone. I place my trust, I place my trust. My destination lies in the dust, in the dust. Far behind is yesterday, from the stars and their dreams, till the wind brought to my lips the clear song of the name of Mayhem.
Beautiful.
Sorry about my sound. This old computer's about to conk out, I think.
The what is?
My old computer is not doing well, so it doesn't have good sound.
Yeah,
This is
I
the
know
old
the Zoom has not been very faithful to musicians.
Well, if I use the other laptop, I've got a special little Sputnik microphone. It's fantastic, but
Yeah.
it's that busy right now working, so I have to use this old one.
Anybody have anything to share? Kathy, you have anything? Let's see.
Today I did a nice thing. I decided I just wanted to do something. I was feeling a bit alone, and I did the art class, the Baba art class. And I haven't drawn for years, and I'm an amateur drawer at drawing. But I worked for Billy Ward for years and years at Berkeley Arts. I was Billy Ward, the famous artist who lives behind Darren Umbridge, his bookkeeper in the shop Berkeley Arts. So I know all about product. And as it turned out, these artists played a couple of videos about journals and everything, and several people mentioned products that these artists didn't know about, and of all things I knew about them because I'd worked for Billy at Berkeley Arts. Anyway, so then we drew Baba, and someone put up a picture, and everyone had to go at drawing Baba. It was very sweet.
Well, let's see your handiwork. Are you?
Oh, it's awful. I got Baba looking like he should be in Kiss or a rock band. I'll show you. It's too much for the brain.
What about that story? Mayor.
Oh yeah, we're going to get Mayor Prasad in a little bit.
Oh, yes. These women were French and very good artists. It really took courage to show them what I'd done.
Let me see. Let me put it on speaker here. Ooh. No, I think that's quite nice. And the eyes.
I couldn't finish it in the time, but they were fabulous. You should have seen what they did. It was fantastic.
I did that week before last. It's fun.
Yeah.
We were drawing feet at the time.
Oh, they had been drawing Padri, and so that they all showed their Padris. They were fantastic, and I let them know about the Padri Mandali Moments video, and they were happy about that. And then they spoke French a lot, which is really good for us because my French is like so rusty. Awful French. My French is so bad that in an exam I had to sing Plaisir d'amour. And Francis said, your French is so bad, and he wrote me Baba words for it, so I didn't sing it in French anymore.
Hey, you got that out of him. Hey, Mayor Prasad, are you still there? He's gonna. Oh yeah, he's going to read us something.
I'm there, but give me 5 minutes, Jeff. I'm
okay.
Driving, so.
Sure.
I could share something if you're.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since we're talking about art, I thought I'd share one that my mother did. So let's see if you can see this one.
Oh my God.
Can
Let
you
me
see
get
that?
it.
There.
Your mom did that.
Yeah, she was, went, had a fine art degree and did a lot of art. And so this
Oh,
is one of many that she did.
oh
And,
my gosh.
of that photo where he looks like everybody thinks he's Jesus.
Yeah.
But anyway, so, and
Beautiful.
I do art too, but nothing like that. But I
Who
appreciate the whole
who did the one behind you?
art thing.
Who?
Phyllis Ott did that one.
Oh,
So
okay.
I had
Yeah.
gotten to know Phyllis over at the center, and this was one of, I have a few of hers. So I think I traded my car for this one.
Uh-huh.
It was an old car, but
And you hitchhiked home.
if you remember the gold Honda that she had for a while, that was my car that my husband and I gave to her in exchange for the painting. So,
Beautiful.
but
Catherine, is your mother a Baba lover?
yes. Since about, I think she came to Baba around 1972. I was about 4 years old, and so, and I think I shared in another group that it was with through Dell and Elliot Rubens were our Baba connection initially, because Dell's sister Suzanne we lived with her when she and my mother were both single women with children. But anyway, so I wanted to share that.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm just curious. Rainey, did you tell us how you heard of Baba?
I heard of Baba from in 1967, November 1967, from a very exotic poet, bard, named Adrian Rawlins. He would come to
A Baba person.
Yeah. Yeah, he wrote to Baba, and Baba would have Francis reply to his dozens of calligraphic 10-page legal size letters. He'd write to Baba, and so we knew he was into Baba. He would open pop festival and things. Everybody knew him. He even has a statue in Melbourne to him now, to the poets. And he told us about Baba, and one day we were in a Chinese restaurant, and he came in with a suitcase of books. He would give away things for meals, and he was quite the exotic, unusual fellow. And he handed my friend these three blue books, which he didn't like, and he handed them to me, and they were the discourses. November 1967.
And that kind of sold you. You kind of felt anybody who could write that like that must know.
Yeah, I was mostly fascinated by one page I oracled that said that there was no difference between superiority and inferiority complexes. And I've always been very mental, I was fascinated by this. I'd run up and down the stairs to my girlfriend's apartment and say, "Did you know there's no difference between an inferiority and a superiority complex?" And she'd just look at me like I was insane. And I worked my way through that book like that, just having one revelation after another. And then, a couple of years later, my boyfriend was the filmmaker, the Baba filmmaker, Stephen Hine. We heard that it was much more spiritual 1,000 miles north in Queensland. So after I'd been very famous in the rock scene in Melbourne, we fled north. 2 kids fled north. We were there, I think, 2 weeks. And Stephen was asked to write an article on marijuana farms by a magazine in Melbourne called Go Set, pop magazine. And the last house he went to, there was a huge picture of Mayor Baba. And he said, "Oh, my old lady's totally into that guy. She reads his 3 books all the time." And he said, "Oh, well, how auspicious. You can come to a meeting tonight. One of Mayor Baba's mandali has moved just up the road." And it was Francis. It was just like that, 1, 2, 3.
Wow. and so he at that time he must have then come back after Baba dropped his body.
He came back in August '69 to Sydney, and
Yeah.
then they fixed up the abode so someone could live in it. It had been shut up, the actual Baba's house and the enclosure barn over it for some time. It just had the Rouses and the Bruford had lived there and cared for that. And they'd opened it on the birthday in Amartithi, I believe. And so the first meeting I went to wasn't on the property and wasn't at Baba's house. It was at the Shipway's house next door. And it was a reading of Stay with God. I was totally lost. But when we met Francis, he knew we were coming and he knew Stephen was a journalist. And he had dressed up to meet us. He had a little tweed jacket on and a woolen tie, which is so un-Francis. And he met us. It was quite formal. And then suddenly he said, I bet you look like a nice Irish girl. I bet you make a good cup of tea. And I said, yes, I can, like real tea, I can. And he said, then that's your job. You make the tea.
What was
And
your
we stay with God.
what was your impression of, impressions you had of in meeting Francis for the first time?
Well, I was terrified. I can tell you, I was terrified. I thought he'd be 6 foot and he'd be able to see right through me and how ordinary I was and how mentally tortured I was all the time and how insecure I was. And I was with this gorgeous, tall Hungarian Australian who was a brainwave, as we know about Stephen. And it shocked me that he was so friendly and short like me and so approachable and ordinary. He was just like we are. And I didn't know he was a mandali. I didn't know a thing. I didn't know what a mandali was. I didn't know anything. And so that night, reading Stay with God, of all things, at that point, they read every paragraph 3 times. It was a difficult night, but I realized that it was actually going into my head, because each paragraph was 3 times. And I'm thinking, this is a really good idea. Because even when you don't understand something, if you hear it over and over, you'll find you understand something. And so at the end of the night, I helped Hazel make the tea. And Hazel Shipway, who had been at the 62 East-West Gathering and such, and met Barbara in 58, and met the community. And then they invited us on the Saturday night because it was the monthly meeting. Now, the monthly meetings were people entertaining the beloved, singing a song or something. Francis never gave talks, so there was no real way to get to know him except to observe him. And what I observed on the first night was this neat, tidy, practical genius of a man with cornflower, sparkling blue eyes, and carefully had on a lovely tweed jacket and a little tie to meet 2 people from Melbourne interested in our Baba. He didn't know our past. And I guess in a way I was healthily fearful of such an intellectual giant. I mean, as soon as we read Stay with God, I knew I was way out of my depth. I'm way out of my depth. But one from being around him, you would never know that. He just, wanted the tea nice and hot, and he wanted everybody to feel comfortable. So there wasn't, other than slowly hearing from everybody else, his role and with Baba being Baba's court essayist and poet, so to speak, you couldn't tell that from his bearing at all. But it was all head down and bottom up, as they say. This man worked, he wrote from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. There was no personal life. And we fell into it, and then there was no personal life for us ever again either. That's how it was.
He broke you in.
He opened the door and let us in. And I felt, because we were from Melbourne and he was from Melbourne, there was something meaningful to him that we had heard of Baba just out there, just totally out there, and we just arrived, so quickly. We'd only been there 2 weeks, and we ended up at the abode. We'd never heard of it.
Beautiful. So Mayor Prasad had a story he was going to share.
Yeah, this is a story that Iruch said. I hope I remember this correctly, but when you made that comment about the hideous face of God, I remembered it. So there is this disciple who is with the master, and he's been with the master for a long time, and he's kind of getting frustrated, that he's not getting anywhere, and he thinks that he's ready for God realization. So he goes to the master and says that, I've been with you for a long time. I think I deserve, what I came for, and I would like to know what am I lacking to really get this God realization. The master initially ignores him, but when the disciple pesters him, the master says, "Okay, today we'll see if you're ready for, for the ultimate realization. So what I would like you to do is to go and spend your whole day near this gate of the town. In those days there were city gates where they would have people prevented from entering the city after a certain time. So it was more like you can think of it as a border for the city. So they would open the gate at certain time in the morning and they would close it at a certain point. So the master tells the disciple to go there early morning when they open it and then come back after spending the day there. So he goes there, goes to the gate, stands there, and there is a guard at the gate that is basically guarding whatever needs to happen there. And he spends the day there, but he doesn't notice anything interesting, just people coming and going, nothing really major event happening. And it's almost close to the end of the day where they close down the gates, and it's at 7 p.m. or whatever. And just right after the time passes, the guard basically brings down the gate, closes it, and he actually locks the gate and about to go back when there is this very old man that comes that's on the other side of the gate, and he says, "Oh, please let me in. It took me a little while to cut the wood in the forest, and this is my only livelihood. I need to sell this wood to make money and to live my life. So please let me in. I'm a little bit late, but please let me in." And he has this huge pile of wood on his back, and he's all bent down and not able to carry that much of weight. So the god is very upset. He says, no, it's too late, and I cannot let you in. And he's hurling all kinds of abuses on this old person. And this guy's disciple is watching, and he's wondering, what is the big deal? Why doesn't he let him in? So this goes on, and the old man is really begging, "Please, I beg you, please let me in. I have this huge load on my back. Please, just for this night, let me in, and then I won't repeat this again." The guard says, "No, I can't let you in, but I'll just take your wood." And he just in a very rough and rude manner, he takes the load off of the old man, all the wood, and he takes it inside and then pushes the old man away. He says, "Okay, you cannot come in, but I'll just take this and put it here." And then he walks away. The disciple is watching all this, and he is really at a point where by the time he's taking the load of stuff on the back of the person, by that time he is very upset. He is like boiling inside. And then the God walks away and he cannot do anything because he doesn't have the key or anything. So then he's still boiling and he comes back to the master because it's the end of the day and there's nothing else he can do. So the master asks, okay, well, did you go and spend your day there? The disciple says, yes, I did. So what did you notice? Well, I didn't see anything throughout the day, but towards the end of the day, I saw this old man, and there was this this guard who was really not letting him, and it was very rude and very rough with this old person, and that's what I noticed. And Master says, well, how do you feel? What did you feel about that? And the disciple says, well, if I had really, I wish I had the power that you gave me so that I can just make this God disappear and, basically make him dead and let the old person in. And then the master says, well, that's the difference. That's what you're lacking. That old man that you saw was my master. And when you see God equally in both evil and good, that's when you are ready. And until that time, you're still lacking.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the gist of the story. I may not have gotten all the details properly, but
yeah. There's a line from Rumi where he says, until perfume and stench are the same to you, how will you be able to catch the scent of oneness? Until perfume and stench are the same to you, how will you ever be able to catch the scent of oneness?
But isn't it so difficult to see God in the evil? It's so difficult, right? And we are like, how could that person be that? How could he behave so rude or so inhuman and all that? That's the thoughts that come to us.
Yeah. It's very hard to imagine that Baba is that evil person.
I think it's hard. It's hard for the mind, I think. It's hard for our minds, but when you go to your heart and you uphold the truth of oneness, you kind of see past that and see that person as their soul and not their sanskars. It's hard. It takes like conscious effort to not let the sanskaras cloud who they are. And I find like with the pandemic, we haven't been interacting with people as much, but now as we do more of that, it takes effort to not let other people's sanskaras influence ourselves and go back to your mind if you're in the heart. And
yeah.
I live in an area where there's a people's park that has a lot of homeless people.
Hey, Rainey, can you turn your volume up just a little bit?
I can't do that with this. How's that? Is that better?
That's better, yeah.
Except you've got to look at me up close, sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, a lot of homeless people live in the famous People's Park in Berkeley. So I had decided there was this one old lady that I would buy her coffee, which she threw over me, very hot coffee. And I came back to the shop and I was actually too embarrassed to even mention that, but I was incredibly upset and I had to think about it a real lot. And so then I decided that they're all my daughter. They're all my son. They don't have their mother now. And I must look at all of these people as someone's son and someone's daughter. But I mustn't interfere. I must just smile if they look like they want to receive a smile, and because it must be very lonely. And this is someone's daughter and this is someone's son. Now, how to transfer that to somebody I loathe or somebody really distresses me is so extremely difficult, because they're helpless, and the evil can be, as we have seen in recent time, very intelligent, very clever, very witty, cunning beyond belief. And how to even begin to like that person is just a test of a test. Oh, don't start me. Very hard. Yeah, when people are helpless, it's easier to go to, they're mad, they haven't had a mother, they haven't had an upbringing. You can go to that mercy. But how to go to that mercy when you know the person is interfering with other people's lives and creating evil and creating trouble deliberately. Whew, man, I know exactly what you're talking about, Ganesh.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just I'm not sure if Baba said this or it's just my own interpretation of it, but it came from Baba, I believe, and it was something about God being 100% sane, and anything less than that is a percentage of insanity. Does that ring a bell? I don't know, but in relating to the duality of the illusion, you know, the other part part of my path has also been understanding the non-dual, and you know, in the sense of being surrounded by, you know, insane psychopaths. You know, so I've dealt with some pretty a lot of insanity in my life, and so with, you know, or surrounded by it, and I wanted just to say that the pandemic sort of gave that reflection. I think I did a little note about it on a different group, but it's like it sort of reflected that truth to me, and that it's like we're in this sort of quarantine for mental illness, and we're all just trying, you know, and Baba's the vaccine to get us out of it, and we're all at this different level of this insanity. And so in seeing that, until we get Baba's vaccine and until we're one with Baba, or, you know, the oneness that he speaks of, we're all just a little bit insane. And that's how I relate to everyone, even some people that have really put me in hell. You know, I just see them as sick.
Yeah.
So that's the best way for me.
Yeah, I think of everybody is Baba in disguise. But some of those disguises are really, well, it doesn't mean you embrace everybody. Some, you know, there's some people you better keep a distance from.
Right.
But there's a line from Gandhi where he said, condemn the action but not the man. I mean that's not easy to do, to separate those out. Separate the sanskaras from the soul, you might say, like Anita said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been reading the book, or it's PDFs online, but Oneness in the World by Craig
Ruff.
Yeah, has anyone read that?
I think I have, yeah.
It's so good. I've only read a few
Yes.
parts, but it really talks about upholding to that truth of oneness. And that's what helps prevent suffering, because we only suffer when we're with our ego, and like becoming more aware of that, like listening to that inner feeling when you're feeling uneasy. It's like, oh, I'm with my false lower ego. And we're meant to, or Baba is trying to efface this. So like how to detach from that, and you detach from it by like asserting that truth of oneness, and like doing that with conviction. And when we kind of remind ourselves, and we know our heart already knows that, but we don't have to listen to our minds. We just know our heart has all those answers, and that's the only way to kind of let go of and detach.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
I
when
think
that's
there's six volumes of oneness. I don't know which one. Five volumes of oneness. So yeah. So
is it the first one?
I've read like 4 or 5, and I'm on 3 right now. So I actually haven't read 1 and 2. I don't know why I went out of order. I think my mom gave me a printout of number 4, and then I went to 5, and now, so.
You know, there's a line from Rainey there. Do they you have those St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores out there? But he has a great line. Because he helped the needy. But he had a great line where he said, It is only by feeling your love that the poor will forgive you for your generosity. It is only by feeling your love that the poor will forgive you for your generosity. Incredible line. I mean, that's somebody that was in that milieu and knew that's a great statement.
Yeah, there's a ghazal. Wouldn't it be better not to have any poor?
Oh, yeah.
And in that ghazal, anyway, Francis said, why do others the disservice of smooth traveling? Oh no, ghazal 7 says, why do others the disservice of smooth traveling?
Say that again slowly.
So why do others the disservice of smooth traveling?
Uh,
A pickaxe for each and a stretch of road for graveling. So why do others the disservice of smooth traveling? Ghazal 7, in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a whole lot of dangerous things between service and service. Selfless service and service.
Yeah. There's a line that made a powerful effect on me when I read it, where Baba said, if this is in the discourses, if the aspirant were to seek out opportunities to serve, it would be a someone is saying, am I goofing up here on the mic or something?
No, but there is some sound coming up.
From mine. Huh.
Yeah, but it's okay. I mean,
okay.
We are able
what was I saying there? In discourse, the Baba said, if the aspirant were to seek out opportunities to serve, it would be a form of selfishness. I was very surprised at that because I kind of grew up, the whole thing is to serve others. And Baba is basically, he's saying service should spring from the spontaneity of freedom rather than from an idealism, or some kind of and so that was kind of a shock to me, to be able to wait and see what love indicates and not what my ideals or values want to do. Although sometimes, I can't get any answer from love, so I have to do the good thing or the right thing, plan B. I prefer not to do plan B, but if nothing comes and it's required, some response is required or some action is done, I may have to do the right thing or the good thing, but I prefer not to. When Baba's love is the doer, it's the best. Because it happens spontaneously. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they mentioned it in that book. It's like letting go of outcomes is one of the things for selfless service, is not expecting anything, not wanting any sort of response or result, or and that can only happen like in the present when you're not wanting something.
Yeah, I'll find that very thing, that very quote here. Huh.
Yet be not an expectant looker on this path, for by God there's no death worse than expectancy.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not Francis's translation, that's Baba's translation of that Rumi piece. It's in the back of one of Francis's books. Be not an expectant looker upon this path, for by God there's no death worse than expectancy.
Here's the one that, here's the very passage I'm referring to. If the aspirant were to seek opportunities for himself to render service, it would be a form of selfishness. In service which really counts in the spiritual life, there can be no thought of the self at all. There should be no necessity felt to have something for oneself or of being the one who can give something to others. The self in all its forms has to be left entirely out of the picture. Service should spring out of the spontaneity of freedom, if and when it is necessary, and it has to come in the cooperative spirit in which there is no insistence upon the claims of the limited I. I mean, when I read this way back when I was reading these discourses like you, Rainey, I got into these things. That really stood out for me because that just seemed to be just quite different from what I thought.
Clarification of the good factor.
What's that?
The good factor. We're all raised to be good. And the thing that I found out through the discourses is my good wasn't Baba's good. It's a different good altogether.
Here's a great line, right? This is from Victor Hugo. I got a quote card here. Virtue, as in the case of vice, is a calculated action. But love is not calculated. It springs from within. It wells up and expresses itself. It wells up in the heart and expresses itself spontaneously. Isn't that a great? That's the crux of Baba's teaching on good and bad. Virtue, as in the case of vice, is a calculated action. But love is not calculated. It springs from within. It wells up in the heart and expresses itself spontaneously. That's the French novelist. But it's hard to be patient enough to wait for love, the spontaneity of love, to be the doer.
Well, isn't it about surrendering the false self just completely to God's will, to Baba's will? It's like by that time you don't exist anymore. It's just Baba. So it just seems like it, from what we're talking about, that it's to try to take your own false self and do what you think needs to be done is your own self. You need to surrender it completely.
Yeah. To be eclipsed by Baba's love.
Yeah.
This is Baba's line here. Love only gives and goes on giving till the will of the beloved alone manifests through the lover. These are Baba's words. Love only gives and goes on giving until the will of the beloved alone manifests through the lover. I think the Mandali they kind of got out of the way and Baba was able to come through. I don't know. We haven't heard anything from Alan Manukian or Priya. We haven't heard too much from Ganesh.
Jeff, Alan was asking in the chat.
Yeah.
Does anyone know Mary Perry from England?
Who?
Mary Perry. Mary, M-A-R-R-Y.
Oh, Mary Perry?
Yeah. He was asking, does anyone know about her?
No, it's not John Perry's
No,
ex.
that's Perry with an A. Is Mary Perry the older woman that was interviewed that knew Margaret? Very sweet older woman.
Yeah, he says she was so sweet, and there is a video in the YouTube.
Yes, I think she is the woman that was from England that might have been in the Margaret Crask meeting.
Yeah, was she the one who in the train station told her about that East Chalicum retreat, maybe?
I don't remember that, but
Well, maybe Alan will.
come back.
Did you figure out who Mary Perry was?
No, but my heart knows her. She's very sweet.
Uh-huh.
She broke my heart when I heard her interview. And she was talking about Baba in a way where it was like just a very internal process.
Was she so this was a video you saw somewhere?
Yeah, I saw it on YouTube, and it just seemed like some random people just found her, and she was just like roaming through some fields, and they just were interviewing her. And I think it was from the 70s or 80s or something. It looked like a very old film, but I never heard anybody talk about her or anything about, if anyone knows anything about her or her history.
How do you spell the name?
I think it's Marry.
Two R's?
Oh no, Mary.
Why?
Terr.
And what's the second name?
Perry.
Perry?
Yeah, I'll put the link for everybody if you actually want to see her.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I don't know. It's all right if nobody knows. I just was something as a thought that came to mind. I just thought I'd ask.
It's here. Mary Perry talks about Meher Baba. I haven't seen this. No.
Uh-huh.
She's in the field, and this beautiful older woman.
How long a interview is it?
It's a bit long.
6 minutes.
Can you put on 5 minutes of it?
I could if you guys actually want to see it. Yeah.
I mean, this is I don't know who this.
It's a little bit slow. I mean, in the beginning, she's talking about like how she used to teach school children dance, and it's kind of like it's kind of a whole thing. I can maybe. It's almost like an art piece. It's very, very dreamy. They have what's that song, Adrian? At the beginning.
The Debussy or Claire de Lune.
Claire de Lune. Yeah, at the beginning. I can play a couple minutes if you want.
Or move ahead on it a little bit to where she's talking about Baba, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where she's talking about Baba.
Well, let's just say Meher Baba.
Yeah, I'll just say Meher Baba.
It'd be great if we get a song from Adrian, but I don't know.
Can you see that? Oops.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
You hear that?
We don't see anything yet.
Do you hear anything?
Yeah, we're hearing a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, it is an old film.
I can hear you.
I once gave a little ballet. The children at Sunday school were in it. A little one came dancing forward with flowers, danced a little, then went to sleep in the corner. Next came a little band of dancers encircling the room with flowers, then some with leaves and some with scarves. Whilst this was happening, there were two statues in the garden. called Pan and Dryad, looking down upon the scene. They danced, then ran away, and in a little while the girl with the basket of flowers awakened and encircled the room, looking at the statues. It was like an awakening.
I can try to skip forward here, see if where she's talking about Baba.
And poetry. I started then just when I thought I wanted to write poetry. I wrote little couplets, rhyming couplets, and that's how I started. Her own individual existence by making one feel less and less bound. What you have to find within you, God's way for you. My father was saying Barbara's name when he passed over, and I wrote Barbara when Mother passed over, and it just said she has come to me at last. When Barbara came to me, I knew that I'd got everything. Anyway, I thought God had just arrived. For years, I sent his name in parcels to missionaries in India. I thought if I was a missionary, which I would have liked to have been, I would have gone to India. Baba knew, so he worked through my life as I lived it. I realized when I went to India in '62 and I saw the names of the various places which were Indian outposts. There were the names of those places I sent parcels to, Dehradun and Kalipadigudam, etc., which I'd forgotten for years. And I stood there outside the door, and Barbara gave me a message mentally. Then I saw that one or two were just stood outside on a little balcony at the top of the steps. And I saw Fred, and Fred just motioned to a seat, sit there. So I went and sat on this seat because I was just stood. And that was at the exit. There was two doors to this room. And as soon as it opened and Clara and Herbert came out, I dashed straight in as if propelled, and I straight in. And Barbara just went, someone put a chair for her, and I sat down, and he was there with his alphabet board. And I just wondered if I'd recognize him. And another thing that passed through my mind was, which I said to Barbara, I wonder how long I've been on the way. You see, not just that one way, but throughout my various lives. And then I sat down on this chair they got me in front of Barbara with his board here, would you say? And then I said, what is this love? that I've been reading about. And it's difficult to comprehend. So there was just quiet. And then I heard him tap a message which someone read out. And then he gave me a message. You will have that love and will realize God and see Him in everything and everybody. He just said everything and everybody. So that means regardless of beings, regardless of anything. I presume because God's God and no one can supersede it. And also I remember that when Barbara got up from the couch, I went and sat in his place. I just thought I was sitting there. Because nobody else was there and nobody else got up to sit there. Now I realise I was sat in Barbara's place and I think they told him that it was mine. And it was wonderful. I didn't want to speak to anyone, because the silence then was so wonderful. Just sat in the same place as Barbara and sat. Because then I seemed to get a similar view that he got. And that's rather a lovely thing. It's just to sit and get a view of the sea. But not in the same way as he saw it, but it revealed something. Everyone has their own character, and Barbara just works through that, whatever it happens to be. It's wonderful, really, isn't it, when you think of it? I'm one with the toozled, bedraggled, bamboozled. I'm one with the ocean of love. I'm one with the flowers, the birds, and the showers. More drops, more love from above. I'm just Sebastian Thingamajig, the one with no hair, just a wig. The one with no teeth. What a relief! I can tread lightly, sprightly, delightfully, and despite all, not too tall. I can skip, dive, and dance, and go into a trance. Can discuss and adore and implore all the world to be sweet. Oh, what a treat! So why worry? Don't hurry. But I'd advise you be wise. Bestow on beloved your heart from the start. Let love like blood flow through your veins. Rejuvenation, resuscitation will ensue. For this dear little you. So you just live through them the best way you can.
Wow. I had never heard. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Wonderful.
I mean, wow. Lovely. No idea who she is or anything.
Love is lovely and lowly. It runs from high places. Beautiful.
Yeah. And then, yeah, no, that was really nice. Hey, so anything anything else? I'm trolling.
I was wondering if you could touch on, because one thing I've been struggling with is time. So time is an illusion, right? And it just seems to be something that often occupies my consciousness and takes me away from my heart and Baba. But whether it's being on time or how much time or what time is it or this, like, it just seems to apply to so many things. I don't know if other people have struggled with how to let go of time.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and everybody has had to deal with that. Of course, like Baba says, and I know you know the quote, live more and more in the present, which is ever beautiful, and stretches away beyond the limits of the past and the future. Now, there's the passing present, and then there's the timeless present. But you have to at least get to this is my feeling, you have to get to the passing present the passing present's the doorway to the timeless present, the now. But I once said to Merwan Jesawala in Mandalay Hall, I quoted, live more and more in the present, which is ever beautiful and stretches away beyond the limits of the past and the future. What does that mean to you, Merwan? And Merwan said, you will only find Baba in the present. You won't find him in the past or the future. He says, people spend so much time thinking about the past and the future, and they let them slip away right in front of them. So, oddly enough, you can be in the present. Well, here's what it is. What Baba's kind of brought home to me is, like, say, suppose I've got a root canal coming up on next Tuesday. Now, I can make note of that fact and stay in the present with it. But if I'm worried about this root canal, then I am energetically in the future. And so I've created a future. If I can stay in the present with that fact, you have to be practical. But it's going energetically in the future. Or I have to give a talk on Wednesday, so I'm worried about it. Then I'm leaving this moment to go into really a section of my imagination, because the future is really an imagination. The same is true about the past. Suppose I feel like I did something terrible in the past. Why did I do that? I was so unkind, and so now I've gone energetically into the past, and I've left this moment. So that the problem is going energetically in these places. If you can stay in the present, you can still accomplish things by staying in the present. But I don't know. It's just a way of looking at it. It's the way I have, is where you know that you have, when you've gone energetically into the past, that experience, as opposed to like I just shared what I said to Merwan Jesawala. That was in the past, but I was in the present with it, relating to it. If I'd gone into the past, you would have felt that I somehow had left this scene here. I don't know if that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. Thank you.
But if you can force yourself to stay in the present, well, here's what I do. This is the hint that I got from Erich. It's like, suppose I am worried about some performance in the future. I got to do a music concert. Now, I can go and imagine all of the possibilities of that, or I can go to the fear in the present, which is projecting that future, and stay with the fear in the present. That's what I do. I stay with the fear in the present, so I'm not leaving I don't go into the future. I stay with the anxiety, because that's a present moment experience. Or you feel bad about something you did in the past, you can experience the guilt or the shame as a present moment experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because then you're not like, because once you start thinking about it, you're going to your mind and you're thinking about the feelings. And you had said just stay with the raw feelings so you can experience that and then let that go.
Yeah, the emotion is in the present. The memory is in the past, and the imagination is in the future. Those two faculties have to be brought into the present. You know, I mean, anyway, that's one way of. That's a very good question, and that what I was telling you is a whole. It's taken many years to kind of work on that, so that I can stay in the present. Because have we ever left the present? Can anybody leave the present? It is impossible to get out of the present.
With a time machine.
Yeah, you can't. When you were in third grade, you were in this moment. But your memory comes and says, "Oh no, that was back in some place." But it was this moment. We can't get out of this moment. That's the anybody can get out of the moment. I'll give you all my everything in my bank account if you can leave this moment.
So you've
Can
done
I
like
add to
deep
that
subject
a little
and then-
bit? Oh.
Oh yeah. Brandy, let's Adrian go first here.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
Just a really quick, hi Rainey.
Hi, darling.
A really quick thing that it's just basically what you just said, but I was talking to Charles about this a while ago, and it's like everything is happening now. Everything is happening now. Like everything that has ever happened is happening right now. Yep. Everything that will ever happen is happening right now. The only thing that exists is right now. And so then just as a way to inform our actions, like we get really pulled into the past and our opinions about the past and our anxiety about the future, and kind of whipped around in the back and forth of past and future, and it's all fantasy and we all know that, and but there's something about like repeating that one statement, like the only thing that right now is all there is. Right now is all there is, and that like just sometimes I sit and breathe with that just every now and then, and like I can just feel, I almost feel like I just catch a little like glimpse behind the veil, like Bob will just kind of like opens the curtain for like a little second, and I feel like I'm listening to you, Jeff, and we all just like love you so much and learn so much from you. There's something about like kind of the trust that the more and the more and the more we kind of pursue these practices of thinking of Baba and bringing Baba into the present moment, like the more, and even just the term present moment just doesn't really cut it, It's just sort of like a cliche or something, but like the now just feels like the better will, or the more naturally that skill will maybe come to us over time. Sort of like putting money in the bank of like our ability to access the now, just every time we do a little. That's what I had to say.
Yeah. Baba is like timeless, the timeless being. So the more we focus on Baba, the more we're participating in timelessness. But Rainey, what were you going to say there?
I triggered something else. Was
a little closer to the mic, though.
Oh, sorry, this awful computer, and I've got to see my awful face at night. It triggered something else about the now. Time is a massive subject, I noticed. and the mandala too, and being on time and not being late, and all sorts of things to do with time. I mean, and deep things to do with time. One thing I was very sick at one point, and I noticed in that illness, it was to do with my head. It was shingles zoster. So my now had to become enormous to cope. But the now can become much bigger. And as it becomes bigger, we become very, very still. And if you have head things, you just have to stay in the now. You can't project, I'm going to die, because then your brain will make you die, you know, and experience all the pain of shingles and so on. The now can become enormous. It's elastic as to how we perceive the moment. But where I was going, that Adrian somehow brought that thought back to my mind with what she had said. But the subject of time, if you like poetry, Anita, there's a lot of Francis Brabazon guzzles about time. And one of our composer's wife once said, oh, you know, it's that guzzle about time. And I said, oh, you mean Time Was? She said, no, not that one. I said, oh, Time's the poor fellow. No, not that one. Time is the turn of the sea tides. No, not that one. Time is the distance between two bubbles. No, not that one. Time has brought me out of the circle. No, no. There are just dozens of guzzles about time, and the moment, being in the moment, as Adrian was saying, and how the ecstasy of being in the moment and trying to grasp that moment. And I over time of seeing these time guzzles, there's just millions of views. It's a fascinating, gorgeous subject. Thank you for bringing it up, Anita.
Thank you, everyone. That was really helpful.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a quote here that Michael Child sent me. Someone read it the other night. Where? This is it, I think. Darn it, let's see. Okay, darn it. This computer, I get kind of mixed up on it. Anyway, now I've lost all of you folks. Are you guys still there?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Wow. Anyway, I am lost on the computer, but you guys keep going.
Jeff, maybe you have to click that Zoom icon somewhere. At that bottom panel.
Anita, my eyes just fell on each drop bubble in time is a sphere bounded but infinite, so fragile, yet the whole creation is held in it.
Beautiful.
Read that one again.
Well, I read the couplet that leads into it because it's the time couplet. The world is being run on time, by time, for time, and at no time are we free, just to sit and enjoy the outward forms of the beloved's beauty. Here it is. Each drop bubble in time is a sphere bounded, but infinite, so fragile that the whole creation is held in it. Each drop bubble in time is a sphere bounded, but infinite, so fragile, yet the whole creation is held in it. It's a mirror reflecting never truth, but the drop soul's desires. no matter how deep one dives in the truth quest or how high one aspires. Just couplet after couplet about time.
I got one here.
Oh,
I'm going to
good.
give it to you. Ah, here it is. This is one by a guy named Henry Van Dyke. Time is too slow for those who wait, too swift for those who fear, too long for those who grieve, too short for those who rejoice, but for those who love, time is eternity. You able to hear that?
Read it
Yes.
again.
Oh, I'll read it again. Time is too, this is what the imagination does to time. And time is too slow for those who wait, too swift for those who fear, too long for those who grieve, too short for those who rejoice, but for those who love, time is eternity. So depending on what emotion is dominant, you get a different version of what time is. If you're fearful, time is too short. If you're in grief, the emotion of grief, then time is too long. If you're having a great time, time is too short. I mean, it's the emotion that colors the whole thing. Except love, which is beyond emotion. You know, Baba said, this is a great line. Baba said, feelings and emotions are the creation of mind and energy. Love is the creation of the soul. So feelings and emotions are the creation of mind and energy. Love is the creation of the soul. So on a different track altogether. Hey, Adrian, can we weasel a song out of you or not? Don't. No pressure.
Your quote reminded me of a song that I wrote a long time ago, and I don't remember all of it, but I just wanted to sing this little line.
Mm-hmm.
Because it kind of plays off of your thing. And so it's like this. Life is short when it's good, and it's long when it's hard, and so I want to spend my time in the arms of my best friend, never doubting for a second that I'm happy to be alive.
Beautiful.
I was just thinking one thing as all this was being said, and like when Jeff, you were saying about this time, and is for in love it is eternity, and one in grief it is like long and all that. So I think there's a relation between time and consciousness. So there should be some relation between time and consciousness, I think.
When consciousness pulls its tentacles out of life, you are in eternity. But if the tentacles of consciousness are on grief, time is really slow. If consciousness is on fear, time is too short. But it's all relative to the emotion that it plugs into. If consciousness plugs into love, time stops. But to get from the passing present to the timeless present, you first, that's the doorway. The passing present, as whatever it is, as uncolorful, as dreary, as unhappy, as joyous as it is, is a doorway to get into the timeless present. There's a
With the
doorway.
timeless present, there are a lot of challenges because certain times you are like short of time, you have many things to do. There are times when you're feeling redundant, and then you can think, contemplate and all that. But there are times when you're like challenged, you're into situations. So I mean, it differs from moment to moment.
But like, say, suppose somebody is very gifted at what you find a struggle doing. They may be able to do that same stuff that you're aggravating, that you're having difficulty with. They have such a facility, they can do it without being bothered by time. We have it within us not to be bothered by time. But I'm saying this, I mean, that sounds good on paper, to actually be able to, I mean, some of those old Baba lovers, they were really pretty unaffected by time. Bao Kachuri, he'd have to give a talk, at the center. He'd just go up there and talk. He wasn't like, oh my God, what am I going to say tonight? You just go out there and and just, I said to Bao, do you ever kind of plan what you're going to say? You work out an outline or something? Even Lord Maher, did you ever kind of write an outline on this Lord Maher, or did you just, no, he said, I just started writing. I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. Didn't even look back.
That's the spontaneity of selfless service.
Yeah, it was just incredible.
So Jeff, now that you've got onto Bao, and we're talking about time and consciousness, can we talk about time and intuition?
Ooh, intuition is outside of time, but it kind of makes itself known in time. But intuition, well, it's the teaching from within. It's the best. I mean, that's our guide. Baba said intuition is always 100% correct. Accessing it is our problem. But we have something on our premises that knows what to do, what is happening, if we could access it. I mean, it's a beautiful thing that we're not just, scrounging around in the dark here. We have an intuition that can spot, hey, this is dangerous. This bridge that we're coming to is dangerous. There's something, it's defective. We better take this other route. It knows like very specific things. Or you get the idea. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry. So
yeah.
Intuition is, the voice of the soul.
Yeah. Beautiful. It's the voice of the soul as it conveys to in our consciousness, to our heart, ideally into our.
Yeah.
Also the voice of the heart, but it's really the voice of the heart of hearts, I would say.
So then, Jeff, what I was just thinking about all this, and what about in terms of when we touch in with Baba, like our hearts touch in with Baba, and like for example, the dream I had with Baba where he embraced me. He came out of a door and he came and he embraced me, and he held me, and I could wrap my arms around, I could feel his shoulders and the clothing through, the skin, I could just feel his body. I feel like there was no more time, there was no more intuition, there was no more, I didn't want anything. It was like I just could lay to rest, or I could like really die almost for a millitrilla of second in him, and then it was like, well, but you can't stay here. Go on, go on. But and so I think a lot of us have touched in on that, and that's why we have such experience Meher Baba, and we can relate to when people share things like that. So I just wonder about that with intuition. It's like, what is that? What are those moments that, I mean, that's like Baba's grace. It's like, does that just annihilate all intuition in that moment? Are we just like really with him, or is it like, it feels really nice because we don't have to deal with our sanskaras spinning around so hard?
Well, I think what you do in those moments, you embody intuition. That it's not like a separate faculty. It's, I mean, just this is my opinion about Erich. Erich was not using his intuition. He was intuition. Embodied before you. Eventually, it's... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just making wow sounds, but I didn't realize that I was unmuted. Please continue.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that, and I think the other mandala, they are the embodiment of intuition. They don't have to think, oh, I wonder if I should go talk with that person over there, or I wonder if I should ask this person to sing. It just all, it's not separated out. It's all fused together. You know, love and intuition and energy, inspiration, knowing, all gets kind of fused together. That's the beautiful.
Does that come through the experience of lifetimes? Like, you know, I was just reading about Erich, and I was reading the discourses, and I thought of Erich because Baba was saying that the drop soul goes through every which kind of experience, every single subtle type of little type of thing that you would find in the darkest recesses of the humankind. You go through that until there's no more left. And so I was looking at Erich, and I was like, he's answering anyone and everyone's question because he literally has experienced that in some lifetime. He's like been where that person's sitting asking him this question, and he just answers like, well, brother, you know, or, you know, he knows, like, there's an intuition there that he's lived it because he's almost done. We're looking at somebody who's almost done.
Yeah. And he may not even tell you what he knows about you. Only if love prompts him to do it. In other words, he may keep certain things back because it's not your time to know. He even knows that.
Does he know it, like, with his mind? Is he thinking about it, or does he just like is he? It seems like what I'm feeling is that he's not like, he wasn't like assessing in the same way that I would, from a place of like analysis or like really, I don't know. I think I know. I feel like there are times when I'm like talking to my students or you know, like music, where I feel like there's like a little portal that gets opened where I'm not in that judgmental place. I'm not in that critical place. I'm not in that arrogant or like whatever modest or insecure place. And it's just kind of like, oh yeah, no, this, oh, not that, oh yeah, this, no, not that, like that kind of just the yes, no place of like total communication. I feel like that is that kind of what you're.
Yeah, I would say it's it's just connecting with people in a whole, complete way. And they may not say anything, you know, or they may give you some some prasad or something, or they may clap you on the back, on the shoulder. But it all comes from a place of wholeness. It's I don't know. I mean, I was gonna say something. Let's see. It slipped my mind.
About Erich?
About Erich. Huh. And it was relevant too. I know that.
Did Sailaja and Prakash say, or are they phrasing you in the chat with feelings and emotions are only the creation of mind and energy? love is the creation of the soul. What is the source for that again?
That's Baba.
Baba.
Baba's words, yeah. It's I mean, emotions get mixed up with love. Love is actually can express itself through emotions as a vehicle, but love is on a different track, different soundtrack. That was valuable to make the distinction between the deepest emotions and love. The deepest emotions are still sanskaric, and love has no sanskars, really. But oh, here's what I was going to say about the mandali. It came back. The thing that I felt was the greatest gift that I received from the mandali, and I think it's one of the greatest gifts we can give to each other. They gave you a feeling of belonging. You know, that's something really fundamental. They gave you that feeling that, well, not only when I first went there, I was still wondering, well, Baba loves everybody, but does he love me? Is it just a blanket love? And they convinced me by their personal love for me, and not just me, so many of us, that I belong to them, and by extension, I belong to Baba. You know, but overall, what they conveyed is a feeling of belonging. And you could be in a ditch in the rain without money, and if you know that you belong, you can deal with it. But if you don't feel that you belong to anyone, or even an uncomfortable chair is offensive. So giving a feeling of belonging, I feel, was the greatest thing they conveyed, more than words and wisdom and help with Baba and all of that. That feeling of belonging. Randy, didn't you feel that from the mandali?
The one time I even had the one year I just arrived, and I was down in the dumps, you know, lonely little soul for about 8 years there by myself, always looking for someone to even walk with, and it would never happen. But I arrived in India and I was so gloomy, and I got off the bus and walked towards her, and just this unbelievable joy coming from Mani.
From Mani?
Unbelievable joy in her eyes, looking at miserable me. I was so sad, so down, and the joy in her eyes. And then as I was hugging her, I had this experience that she, like the Native Americans, the indigenous Americans, she could just slash her wrist and slash my wrist and can join our blood. And within minutes, I was joyful.
Yeah.
And I thought, how did that happen? And then I saw this image of her blood entering my blood, and I became joyful. I was family. I wasn't lonely. Yeah. I wasn't alone. None of that. I was family, and her joy is my joy.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, no, that feeling of belonging, you know, that they extended without disapproval, or, you know, or all of the kind of stuff that, you know, people often vet you, you know. They were like your favorite aunts and uncles. Something. Yeah. And I mean, like I say, they would never say they had a monopoly on that. We can all do that. And Rumi at one point said, if you want to be held, hold out your hands to, well, I can't remember the quote exactly, but if you want to be held, hold out your arms to somebody. If you want to belong, if you want to feel you belong, help others feel that they belong, and then you'll always belong. If your intent is to give people a feeling of belonging, they may not want to they may not want to belong to you, but if you're in readiness to give people a feeling of belonging, then the whole earth belongs to you. You're welcome everywhere. It's a fact. Does that make any sense, Anita, or am I just jabbering away here?
It's all lovely. Thank you.
It's great, yeah.
It's really meaningful what we're talking about. I'm just thinking about what happened here in the U.S. and what keeps happening here. Just there's so much violence, and it's like I see like our country. I don't know how it is in other parts of the world, but I think this like sort of perpetual feeling of lost, like the lost boys, you know, just like this homelessness, this emptiness, this not belonging, this feeling of like, and that violence springs from a deep, deep, like profound sense of unworthiness and loneliness and misplacement, displacement, and what, you know, just how healing and how I would never want to take for granted the value of just connection with even one person, let alone a whole group of people, let alone a whole global community of people who love Baba and who, you know, because you can follow a spiritual path or religion and still feel empty and still feel alone and still feel like there's no one holding your hand and no one that wants to reach for you. And I just, there's just so much value in just loving each other and just keeping that action of reaching our hands out for each other. And it's just, I just hope it sends ripples and ripples throughout the whole universe, that when we help each other, when we make each other feel like we belong to each other, we claim each other, like you're mine, you're my human, you know, I'm your human, you know, you're Baba, I'm Baba, you know, and we do that for each other, for strangers, for our loved ones. Like it's just, I just think it just must have a deep and profound like impact through the course of a soul's entire incarnation, through all lifetimes, you know.
Yeah, I agree. And because Baba is universal, if you embrace others for him, then it has not just this little local effect. Because it's linked to Baba, it gets magnified and amplified far more than if we were just alone, not into Baba, or no connection with his universal quality. But that it universalizes everything. You know, Erich used to say, he used to float this by in Mandalay Hall from time to time. I mean, I would see it and think, whoa, that's something. He would say, this whole world is yours, but you have to claim it. This whole world is yours, but you have to claim it. Through love, you bring what's outside of you inside. And you can become a caretaker of the world. Someone say, but isn't that presumptuous of me to think I'm a caretaker of the world? And Eric said, brother, it's a presumptuous not to think that you're a caretaker of the world. He'd flip it around. You know, so I mean, I give the example, like if you love birds and you get to know birds and all their names and their habits, and you have bird feeders and all this, after a while, birds are flying around inside of you. You know, they are now inside of you. If you love kids and you know, after a while, you got playgrounds inside of you where kids can run around. It's like internalizing all this creation inside of you. You know, this whole world is yours, but you have to claim it. That's, you know, we're much larger than these little puny, melodramatic personas. What do you think, Ganesh? You're gonna go in there and claim all of Pune in one fell swoop.
I'm just so full listening to all this, so I have no words to put. It's like that.
Yeah. I mean, I've said this many times. I
Profound.
asked Darwin one time, what is the biggest mistake the Baba lovers are making? And he said, they think of themselves as small and they remain small. Think big. Think even outside the spiritual box. We're even greater than that. The traditional spiritual box. We are. And it's not, but it's not like it makes you self-important. It actually makes you more conscientious. You know? Yeah.
Well,
We can be heroes forever.
What's that?
We can be heroes. Just one day.
Heroines.
We can be heroes forever and ever.
That's a song, huh?
We can be heroes forever and ever.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're anyway.
Well, Jeff, I'd just like you to know an important detail about birds.
About what?
The birds.
The birds, yeah.
So when the cedar waxwings go past, and cedar waxwings, they have coal and red, and they're genetic, they're flighty, they're fussy, they sing in Saraswati raga, like 5 octaves above anything you can barely hear, like silvery sounds. They come every, well, they're early this year,
Late
every
winter.
March and every November. They only come here for one reason, greed. And I film them, I photograph them, I swoon every time they come. They couldn't care less about me. And they ate in the last 3 days, every single holly berry in a 4-story high, 100-year-old holly tree. Every berry. There's not one. They start at the top and they munch their way down.
Yeah.
And as soon as it's all gone, then they go, I don't know where they go. Where do they go? Brazil, or where the heck do they go?
Yeah,
but
they're
they
heading
don't come
south.
back till November and when they're out again. So we know they come twice a year.
Yeah, we have them come through here too. Yeah.
I mean, they're extraordinary. And their consciousness is so enviable. It's so focused on the berries.
Well, now here's something that I gathered from Erich. You might find this interesting. I was with him at the trust one time, and it was like I think it was some bug went across the table, and you know the impulse is just to kill that bug. You know, it's only got a little finite awareness on creation. You know, it doesn't even know it hit him. But Erich conveyed that Baba, with his full awareness, is behind that little bug. You know, and like say all these birds, all these cedar waxwing, Baba is there with those orchestrating that whole thing. It's not like Baba is off somewhere else. That's why they can do these great formations, because Baba's up there orchestrating it. You know, we think, well, Baba's just for human beings, you know, but he's there watching. So I mean, of course, we kill things and everything. I pull out weeds. I take Baba's name when I pull out weeds. But he is with each thing, with full consciousness.
500 million things. I just read 500 million before you get to the 8 million humans.
I know.
500 million things.
Yeah.
One of them's a greedy little cedar waxwing that I can't take my eyes off.
Yeah. Anyway, it's all kind of amazingly beautiful. Yeah. Jacima, any observations from right there? You're right there in Baba's garden, around the side of the house.
Yeah, nothing, just listening, enjoying.
Nothing comes. Yeah. Priya has been listening because every once in a while we see a heart shows up down there. There she is. Good morning. Yeah.
Good morning, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I guess I have no idea what time it is. My watch broke. What time is what?
Don't worry about the time. You don't have to think about it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Spontaneity.
That's right.
What time are you free?
Yeah. Well, time is long when people are bored. Time is forever.
It's 9:14 in San Francisco area.
Oh my God, it's after midnight.
Yeah.
Here.
It's tomorrow.
Yes. Well, let's see. Anything else? Hey, have Diane and Terry been on this whole time?
No, not the whole time. We got in about 8:30.
Uh-huh.
Right in the middle of the movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So nobody really knows who that is? Was that the gist?
Well, I hadn't heard of her. I may have heard the name, but a woman named Mary Perry.
Mary Perry, that's
Whose
me.
parents.
I flicked it all over the world. I flicked it to Ursula, who knows everything. I flicked it to Australia. No one's ever heard of Mary Perry. You've really come up with something, Alan.
Yeah. Yeah, he might even just be creating these like fake, movies. Just try to get us to go down some rabbit hole,
That's the lady that lives across the street from me. No.
There was one woman named, I can't remember her first name, her last name was Bird, and she was British. She had met Baba, and she had a very internal life with Baba, and she found, I can't remember her first name, but anyway, this was her dilemma, is she had this Baba within, and then when she saw Baba outside, she had a hard time with the Baba within matching up with the Baba outside. She said it was, puzzling because Baba was behaving outwardly different from the way she was experiencing within. But what a dilemma. I wouldn't mind it, being with Baba and having difficulty. But she found it a little difficult to relate to Baba because the way he was relating to her inwardly was different because inwardly he could relate to her all the time. But when Baba was there outwardly, he had so many people to relate to that her own internal thing was ongoingly intimate, you might say. Margaret Bird? No, I can't remember. Anyway, let's say, what do you say we...
Joyce Bird.
Joyce Bird, that was it. Good. How did you know that?
Because I'm a sticky beak.
Oh, so you looked it up. Yeah.
She was British. She passed in 2008. She was English Australian. In fact, I met Joyce Bird. What am I talking about? Yes, that late interview was done at Advertiser Abode, I think, by Tony Zoyce or someone. And there's a lovely picture of her as an old lady with bow. Very sweet person. I met her late in life.
Uh-huh. Yeah, she came to the center here in Myrtle Beach. Yeah.
Oh.
So if we don't get a final song with Adrian, we'll just have to go into some like a period of silence here. No,
What should I sing?
Sing the song that you wrote about Alan. One of your early songs.
Which one was that?
Come on, no.
You know what one it is.
Don't play shy. Don't play coy, Alan.
The bird.
Yeah.
This might result in, some kind of marital conflict here, but
Yeah. We do a lot of that. Isn't it? This is marriage.
yeah. That was Baba's symbol for marriage.
Yeah, all my marriages were like that with very nice Baba people, but they were all like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I admit I haven't played this one for a while, Jeff, so I think I know it pretty well now. Oh, we got a guitar pick.
Yeah. Can you choose the microphone?
Yeah, I got it.
This is a beautiful song. One of the early songs you wrote, I think.
Well, no, it's the first song that I wrote for Alan, and I only met him. I mean, everything's happening now, so I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's 2016. Okay, so it travels like it's all about how like two souls can be connected through all different forms and all different shapes. But it doesn't have to be, well, you'll see, whatever. It's fine. I'm just gonna play the song. I found my love in a sacred place, floating like an otter out beyond the waves, and the sparkle in his eyes called out to mine. I became an otter too, so we could play. So I swim and I say my prayer. I would go with you anywhere. You're my love, you're in my skin, and I wanna dive all the way in. All in. My love grew wings and it took the sky. He stared down at me with his eagle eyes. He was circling above and I sang, all you need is love. And tail feathers grew out of my spine. So I fly, yeah, I catch the wind. So ready for my life with you to begin. But love
You're in my skin, and I wanna dive all the way in, all in, all
That was beautiful, Adrian.
Thank you. Can I share a little parable before we all go off to our separate ways?
Yes.
So the other day, Alan and I were talking about Mara, and the topic of Mara arose. And I might have said this before to you, Jeff, but I had this kind of beautiful image that came to me. It was like, I think I've said it before, but so the story is that in the very, very beginning, before there was time and before there was anything and everything was nothing and it was complete void, there was a whisper of something. And in that whisper, there was a wish to know something. And once that wish, that whim was developed, then there became Baba, the primordial, timeless being. Once Baba looked down at himself, he said, "Who am I?" And in that question, creation started to swirl and started to form. And from that swirl and from that form, there became a voice. And there became a form. And it was Mara. And she answered the question. She said, "You are my beloved." And then for all time and through all eternity, Baba and Mara, the lover and the beloved, are constantly trying to come back together. And our whole experience as humans is just an expression of their love for each other, and they're trying to come back together. And they come into us and they make us reach and they make us push away, and it's all our own inability to withstand and withhold the magnitude of that timeless and eternal and almost unspeakable love.
Beautiful. Wonderful. You know, we last time, it was a couple of days ago, Ganesh is not here now, but someone asked where Baba says that Mara represents Maya, and she upholds the creation. But the way Ganesh explained it, which was beautiful, is that if light comes into a room, it could destroy the room. If Baba's light comes into creation, he could wipe it out. Someone has to hold creation so that it doesn't disappear when Baba comes. She holds that. And the thing that Ganesh said is that or maybe it was Michael Child said that he is looking for the perfect reflection of his love in creation, and that is Mara. You know, that she is the one that reflects, there's the perfect reflection of his love. You know, I mean, that's kind of I thought, wow. I mean, all of us have a kind of a mirror that's crusted over and you know, and all of that and everything. She is the perfect mirror of his love. So she reflects back his love to him.
And isn't her mirror in our hearts?
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's all, I would say it's playing out in us.
Yeah.
Especially if we open to that. You know? You know, when I was there when Mara passed on, and people were going into the tomb, and no one has ever said this about any of the other mandali, but they would go into the tomb, and Baba's photo, you know, there was a photograph back then, would be there, and then it would change to Mara, and it would be Baba and Mara, like that. They were seeing Mara's image superimposed over Baba's. That never happened with any of the other mandali. You know. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if Rainey ever heard this, but Arti used to say, and you might have heard it from Arti, but Arti said that Mara is always the same one.
Yeah, she said that herself.
Yeah. And Mara said,
I'm Mira, I've been all of these people. Yes.
Radha, Krishna, I mean Radha, Sita. Yeah. She said, I've always been a woman.
In Jimmy Mystery's part 2, I think it is, letters, there's a poem Frances gave to Mara for one of her birthdays that reflects a lot of what Adrian was saying there. The chorus is, I sing of you, I wrote it into my melody. I sing of you, Mara, the beloved of all mankind. But the poem goes into that every single detail of this world was created to please her. He made the world into an arbor for her pleasure and shade. He created a whim, the creation. It's a one-word poem, and he contained it, and you're the melody of it. It's image after image, just like that. That everything that's here is her, is for her. And
We got to get you to read that. Bring that next time you show up. Bring that, because, yeah, I mean, it's the great love that we all need to emulate in our own way. Reuniting our masculine and feminine side within us. Yeah. Wow. Well, this is kind of going off the top. That was really powerful, Adrian. Anyway, it's probably 12:30. I gotta go to bed. Here, I have to go to work. Anyway, great seeing all of you, and beautiful. And,
we love you.
Yeah, and Anita, thank you for tuning in from Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada.
Yeah, it was nice to join in tonight. Thanks so
Yeah,
much.
good. Okay, Sham. Has Sham and Dinesh been here all this time? There's
Yes.
Dinesh and Sham.
Both
Did
are
it make-
sleeping partner, sleeping
What's that?
from the audience. Yes,
Okay.
we are from audience.
You didn't fall asleep?
No, it's day.
Oh,
we
good.
are to. Yes, it's 10 o'clock.
Anita,
Yeah.
are you in Victoria?
I'm in Nanaimo, so pretty close to Victoria.
Because
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
Baba lover works in the shoe shop in Victoria. Her name is Franny.
I've met her actually. Yeah, I met
okay,
her in Vancouver at one of yeah. I haven't seen her in a few years though, but
Another Franny.
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Jeff,
Okay.
I want to share Jesus on time.
Yeah.
Jesus was asked, what shall be there in your kingdom of God? He aptly replied, there shall no longer be time.
Yeah. Say that again.
Jesus was asked, what will be there in your kingdom of God? He replied, there shall no longer be time.
Oh.
So Anita, Anita's wish comes true.
Perfect. All my anxieties are solved.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, Baba is the embodiment of timelessness the now. So the more you focus on him, the more you're going to ease out of time into his timelessness.
That's perfect.
The magnetism, he's like a magnet drawing you out of time and space. Space also. Space is another thing that we have to shrug off.
Fourth dimension of time.
What's that?
Fourth dimension of time. Space is fourth dimension of time.
Uh-oh, I'm missing.
I read somewhere space is fourth dimension of time. Space is fourth dimension of time.
Oh, space is the fourth dimension of time.
Gee.
Baba said that space is something like the distance between your first imagination and your last imagination. That's when your last imagination, when you get to that, then space is gone. Hey, anyway, so let's have a few moments of silence here.
Yes.
Jai Baba. See you guys. Wonderful to meet out here in cyberspace.
Jai Baba.
Thank you so much.
Avatar Meher
Meher
Baba
Baba
ki
ki
jai.
Jai.
Avatar Meher
Avatar
Baba
Meher Baba ki jai.
Ki Jai.
Avatar Meher Baba
Baba ki jai.
Jai.
Hey, I just realized, Jasima, you have to go to work tomorrow, and he's the host.
I mean, I can't miss this opportunity. Just whatever.
Well, I hope you get through tomorrow, and don't make too many blunders in your work. Yeah. Okay. Well, I hate to have to say goodbye.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Love you all.